Yes, guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. We are going to break down and dive deep into the two most common formations in FIFA 21. I know it is June, and I know that people are like, oh, it's just tactics in June. Who cares? No one's playing champs. I don't really care. I'm still playing champs, and I know there are some of you, a lot of you, who are still playing champs and want to have fun with this game, and are still confused, maybe want to learn a little bit going into FIFA 22. So I'm going to break down the two most popular tactic videos in this video and explain to you exactly what the differences are, why you should maybe use one over the other, or maybe why you shouldn't use them at all. Let's get into it. So diving straight into it, we're going to go through each individual set of formations. We're going to go through the 4-1-2-1-2-2, which is the narrow variation, and the 4-3-1-2. We're going to go through the 4-1-2-1-2 first. I'm going to show you guys exactly how this is set up and why this is such a different formation compared to what a lot of people play in the game. The number one thing with this formation is straight off the bat, you'll notice it's a very, very narrow formation. As you can see, the entire pitch is basically dominated by central players, and it almost looks like the fullbacks are a bit out of place being that wide, and that's essentially kind of how you play it. The big difference between the two formations, just getting it out of the way, is this formation features a true defensive midfielder, where Acuna is sat right now, where if you go over to the 4-3-1-2, this actually doesn't have a defensive midfielder, and there's a reason for that. The two formations are very different in one sense, where one is slightly more of a possession-based style of play, where the 4-3-1-2 is maybe one that a lot of pros and a lot of Gold 1 and elite players, I said Gold 1 in the same category as pros, obviously it's very different, but a lot of these people that are in the 20-plus win range or the 17-plus win range will be using a formation similar to this as opposed to the 4-1-2-1-2 because they find it easier for this formation to be able to press and get the ball back quicker, which is the name of the game. Get the ball back, possession, and get shots on target. So the main difference really between the two is essentially that. Now, there are ways that you set up in these formations to make them be a little bit more possession-based or a little bit more press-based. So going into the 4-1-2-1-2, what makes this a bit more possession-based is with my instructions and my tactics, and a lot of the people that I see use this, they either set their center defensive midfielder to drop between defenders or stay back while attacking. I personally use drop between defenders because this is going to be my anchor defensive midfielder. I typically put Essien in there. I'm messing with the team right now, but I'll typically put Essien in there, and it is basically just because I don't want him going forward at all. I want him being the anchor in my team that stops all form of counterattack whatsoever. And that is one of the things that you'll notice with the defensive midfielder in the 4-1-2-1-2, in the 4-3-1-2. A lot of people who use this formation won't set their defensive midfielder to drop between defenders because they want their players to stay higher up the pitch. The more high up the pitch that your defensive midfielder gets, the more ground they would have to cover if they were to be set to drop between defenders, like you can see here. There's a lot more ground they have to cover, so you would need someone with very high stamina, and it really just does not bode well when you're trying to high press. So the number one thing, like I said, is just the difference between them is press oriented and possession oriented on the 4-3-1-2 and 4-1-2-2 respectively. But another reason what makes this formation a little bit easier to press is the fact that these two midfielders are made to get a little bit more forward. So Goretzka and Dembele, obviously Dembele would not be playing here, it'd be Aouar, but it allows them to basically get a lot more forward. This is a formation that myself personally I switched to end of games. And someone like Alphonso Davies and Llorente, who can both get forward and attack, I would set them to join the attack or even just balance attack because they do have good attacking work rates, and set them to overlap. As you can see here, I don't have the tactics set, but set them to overlap because essentially what you want to do is, this is a formation, like I said, presumably you'll be dominating possession. You want to get just chance after chance after chance, and you only want, realistically, your two center backs to the last line of defense. You want your fullbacks bombing towards the corner flag, so that way they have an outlet there. You want Goretzka and Dembele going to the edge of the 18-yard box, and Acuna kind of dropping around the 25 to 30-yard area just as an outlet. Aouar, Gnabry, and Hazard, your three central attacking players, running around and creating space in the box. That is going to be essentially what the pattern of attacking play, and the main difference with this formation is compared to the 4-1-2-1-2. A lot of the ways people that play this formation, they will have a fullback run around and cut back to a striker, such as Hazard, will have Llorente run around and Hazard cut into the middle of the pitch to like around the penalty spot. I'll put a little clip in here, but to run around the penalty spot and just get like a little poacher's goal. Someone like Erling Haaland is very, very good at this, even like a Harry Kane. And the main thing that the 4-1-2-1-2 features is obviously it's a lot more defensively stable. and your midfielders are not much. They're not as far pushed up the pitch as you would get in a 4-3-1-2. Davies and Llorente, for me in this formation, I don't like getting them too far up the pitch. This is a formation that I will start out the game with just to maintain possession and just get myself in the game. Make sure that I don't concede a first 15-minute goal and just really play myself out of the game. I don't want to be too attacking from opening kickoff, because then you can really open up a lot of gaps, and it just allows your opponent to sit back really early when obviously the sitting back is the meta this year. You don't want that to be an option for them. You want to make sure that they have to keep attacking you so you can create these chances. Another really nice thing the 4-1-2-1-2 offers as opposed to the 4-3-1-2 is the ability to play out of the back. For me in the 4-3-1-2, I find it very difficult to play out of the back because of the instructions that I have set. I find that my players are just bombing forward, and as soon as you get the ball with your center backs, which is typically where you do win the ball back, is with your center backs, it is very difficult to find a defensive midfielder, find two center mids or whatever, to get the ball to. So you're just kind of stranded dribbling around with your fullbacks or with your center backs, and you really don't want to be able to do that, because then you're just risking turning the ball over and getting scored on because you're the last man. So for me, I enjoy the 4-1-2-2 in the sense that Acuna, my DM, is a bit more drop back into the defensive line, and I can quickly get the ball to him on a better ball handler, so my center backs can retreat back to their defensive positioning and not get caught out. And as you can see, it doesn't really allow the connection from the central midfielder. I was going to call him the CDM for this formation, because obviously he's not really a center defensive midfielder, but he's a CM in this sense. There's a lot more of a gap between him and the center backs, so it just makes it much more difficult to get the ball to him. It's realistically one of the fastest paced formations in the game. The 4-3-1-2 is meant to be played fast, and the 4-1-2-1-2 could, for the most part, be meant to be played slower, more methodical, a more meticulous build-up. Something that I hope they add in FIFA 22, where you do have the option to have a bit of a slower build-up without having it be too slow, where, for example, like in the tactics, the offensive style, you can play possession or fast build-up, and the possession players just don't move. So I'm hoping that they give you the option to do like a bit of a slower build-up. So that is basically the two main differences between the 4-1-2-2 and the 4-3-1-2. Pros and cons. The 4-3-1-2 is something that you're going to want to play when you're trailing in a game, or if you're really pressing for that goal. Say you're running the 4-1-2-1-2 at the start, and you're really dominating the game, you want to keep pressing the opposition's final third, you would switch to the 4-3-1-2 and really keep hammering their penalty area to make sure that you try and get a goal on the scoreboard. And the 4-1-2-1-2 is just a much more conservative. It can be played much more defensively than the 4-3-1-2. And for me personally, I think the 4-1-2-1-2 offers a much more versatile play style than the 4-3-1-2, whereas the 4-3-1-2, if you do not press, if you try and play this possession-based style of football, you're going to get counterattacked, and you're not going to be very successful with this formation. It's a formation that you need to play high intensity and really get forward. Guys, I tried to cover this. Obviously, there's a number of differences in this formation, but I tried covering this in such a short video, about 10 minutes now. So if you are new to the channel, make sure you drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions and what formations you would like me to compare next. I love doing these formation videos, and I would be curious to see if there are some similarities between some other formations. I wouldn't know unless I tried them. So guys, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace, fellas.